It's Ron Brown with Tech for Senior. If you're finding it harder to see text on your computer screen, you're not alone, and you're not out of luck. Windows 10 and 11 come with built-in tools that can make your screen easier to read, even for those with reduced vision. Today we're going to talk about making your screen easier to see, and I'm going to show you the changes that you can make in your computer that will help with your visual challenges. Now, before we get started, please click that like and subscribe, and let's get on with the show. So before we start looking at computer settings, there are some things that you can do to improve your vision. The first is make sure your glasses are correct. There are special glasses for computer viewing, and we'll talk about that. Ambient lighting, and even making sure that your computer screen is clean. So there are some things that we need to talk about before we get into the settings. The second is, of course, that the demonstration today will be on my Windows 10 PC, but the accessibility features for you are really pretty much the same on Windows 10 and Windows 11. Now, you will need to know where to get to the settings menu. You'll hit the start button and go to settings. That is the same in both Windows 10 and 11. But where you look for the settings is a little bit different. In Windows 11, it's in accessibility. In Windows 10, it's in ease of access. So I'm not going to repeat that through the whole video. It's just something that's there. You can in Windows 11. It's a bit different to find than in Windows 10. So the thing you need to know about glasses is that there are specific glasses for computer screens. Yes, if you are watching a computer screen for a long time, like I do, and wear glasses, you can purchase specific glasses that are designed to help you with eye strain on your computer screen. For viewing computer screens, the best type of glasses are computer or blue light blocking glasses specifically designed to reduce eye strain. So when purchasing glasses, look for the blue light filtering to reduce digital eye strain, anti-glare and anti-scratch coatings for comfort and durability, and lightweight frames to avoid nose and ear pressure during prolonged use. Improving ambient lighting can make a big difference for seniors and everyone struggling to see their computer screens clearly. Here are the most helpful changes. To reduce glare, avoid bright overhead lights or lamps directly behind you. Use indirect lighting or lamps with diffusers to soften reflections. Position your screen perpendicular to windows to reduce sunlight glare, and use anti-glare screen filter if needed. Cleaning your computer screen the right way is essential for both clear visibility and screen safety, especially for seniors who may already have trouble seeing fine detail. So here is the best way to clean it. So what you'll need is a small microfiber cloth, distilled water, or you can use a mixture of 50% distilled water and 50% white vinegar. You'll need a small spray bottle, and remember, never spray the liquid onto the screen. Always spray it onto the microfiber cloth, gently in a dry circular motion with a microfiber cloth. Use a circular motion to lift dust and fingerprints. Don't press too hard. LCD and LE panels can be delicate. Now, it's very important that you do not use Windex, alcohol, or paper towels. They can scratch or damage the coatings on your computer display. Don't spray liquid directly on the screen, and avoid abrasive cloths or too much pressure. All right, let's talk about changes you can make in your computer screen. The first thing we want to talk about is screen resolution and screen scaling. Both of these are two totally different things, and I'm going to show you where to find them and how to modify them. Now, the first thing we want to talk about is screen resolution. And a common example would be your screen could be set to 1920 by 1080. This is what we call full HD. Now, this is set automatically by your computer when it's connecting to your screen. the computer sort of knows what's the resolution of the screen. So when you go in and look at this, and I'll show you this in a minute, higher resolution, of course, means more detail, but smaller text and icons. So if you have a higher resolution screen, things are probably going to look a little bit smaller. Now, a lower resolution screen, but less detail, but larger text and icons. In other words, they're making things bigger to fill things up because they don't have as many pixels. Think of it as like a high resolution screen is a big piece of paper with a lot of tiny little dots. A lower resolution screen has bigger and bigger dots though. So let's have a look and see where we can find the resolution on our computer. All right, let's have a look at the screen resolution on this monitor. We're going to come down to the bottom left-hand corner here, and we're going to click the little Windows icon, and this is going to bring up our settings menu. We're going to click Settings, and we have our settings menu, and we're going to come down to System. Let's go to the System display. This is similar on Windows 10 and Windows 11. So we're going to click Windows Notification, and we're going to go, this is my second monitor. We're going to click this monitor because that's the one I'm looking at now. And we're going to come down and we're going to see that we're going to talk about right now display resolution. We'll talk about scale in a minute, but today right now we're going to talk about display resolution. And this is set at 1920 by 1080. And this is recommended by Windows for this particular monitor. It is an HD monitor. Now we can change this, but I wouldn't recommend it. Now we can see here that we can change the display, which will actually make things a little bit bigger, but it's going to change your screen size. Let's see if I change this to 1280 by 768. Now you can see it on our screen, it's going to shrink the screen size down. So I don't want to keep these display settings. Usually I would recommend going with what the recommendation is your computer will make for that screen. What we are going to change is the scale and layout in a minute. Let's talk about that. So one of the first things that you want to tweak is your display scaling. Because of high resolution 4K monitors we have now, the print and the fonts can be little itty bitty things that are very hard to see. So what we want to do with modern monitors is adjust the scaling. And that's why Microsoft lets you change the scaling, which will make everything bigger without changing the resolution. So, and that's why there's a second setting there called scaling. And that's what you should have a look at. Now let's see what happens when we change the scaling. Now the nice thing about this is you can have the scaling set per monitor. So if you have multiple monitors, you would have the scaling set differently for each monitor. So let's see how we can do that. Okay, now we're back in our display setting, exactly where we left off before, and you'll see that we have our screen resolution set for 1920 by 1080. But above, let's look at scale and layout. Recommended 100%, but we can change this now. Let's click the drop-down menu and see we can have it set for 125 or 150. So let's have a look. So when it says 150, that's going to mean that the fonts will be 1.5 times as big. So let's see how this can change things. Whoa, isn't that pretty cool? Suddenly things are quite a bit bigger. And this is going to make things a lot easier for you to see. Now this would apply to all your displays on this particular monitor. You could increase the size to 150%. Let's go up to 100. Let's get really crazy here. Let's go to 175. So that's pretty darn big. So you can get some pretty big display images here by increasing the scale and layout. I'm going to put mine back to 100%, which is what I like, and we're going to leave it there. But if you are having trouble, you could certainly change your display and layout setting. All right, let's look at a few more settings to help you. All right, we're going to come down now and we're going to click on our settings button again. We'll come up to settings. This time I want you to go way over to the right. Now, this is a little bit different on Windows 11, but the principles are the same. We're going to go over to the ease of access, way over here to the right, and we're going to click this. And this is going to bring up another display setting. And right at the top, you'll see Make Text Bigger. Remember that setting I just showed you about making your display bigger? Remember we went over the 125, 150, 175? Well, you don't have to actually make the whole screen bigger. You can just make the text bigger. And again, by scrolling along here, as you see, we can actually just make the text on the screen bigger. So play around with that, and you might be able to help see on your screen by simply making the text bigger. Now, we also can change our pointer size. Again, this is our pointer, and if we want to make this bigger, we can certainly just bring this up, and we can certainly make this bigger or smaller depending on what we want. And we can also make the text cursor bigger or smaller. This is the cursor that indicates where the text is going to be. But I wanted to just show you those three changes that you can make in the ease of access in the settings menu. Now, Magnifier is part of a vision accessibility feature in Windows 10 and 11 and is a built-in accessibility tool that helps users with vision difficulty by enlarging parts of the screen. It acts like a digital magnifying glass, and it can be used for different modes and depending on your needs. So let's have a look at the different modes of Magnifier. All right, let's bring up Magnifier controls. So we'll come down to the bottom again, the bottom left-hand corner here, and we are going to click on Settings. And as we come up in our Settings menu here, we're going to come way over to the right, Ease of Access, and we're going to click here. And of course, we're now going to come down to the left side, and you'll see an item here called Magnifier. Let's click on this and see where we are. Now, this is an important part of Windows if you have sight problems. And let me explain how this works. So as we come down, first of all, you can turn in the settings Magnifier on or off just by simply toggling this switch. But I want you to come down here, and you can start Magnifier after sign in, so it will automatically start, or start Magnifier before sign in for everyone. So you may want to choose one of these two, so you don't actually have to start it every time you're going to use it. However, if you want to turn this on, there is a key command for this, and press the Windows logo key plus to turn on Magnifier. So you can turn it on by Windows plus. You can use the Windows logo plus escape to turn off the magnifier. So you can either do it through this toggle here. You can either use the Windows key with the plus or escape to turn it on or off. And you can also, you'll see in a moment, you can use key commands to increase or decrease the size of magnification. Now, we'll talk about this in a minute, but when you choose magnification, you have three modes. If you come down here, you'll see it change magnifier view, and you're going to see that you have a docked view, and we'll talk about that in a minute, a full screen, or a lens view. And so we'll talk a little bit about those in just a minute. You can change these views of how this works. You can invert the colors. You can smooth edges of all the image and text, or you can invert colors. Sometimes different colors are more easy to view. As we come down here, you also can have the magnifier follow the mouse pointer, keyboard focus, text cursor, or narrative cursor. All right, we're back in Magnifier, and let's just have a look at how this is going to work. We're going to take the Windows logo on my keyboard, and I'm going to hit the plus button here. Now you'll see on the screen Magnifier is turned off. When I use the Windows and the plus, it turns it on. Now we've been doing this with the full screen, So what we want to come down here and we can change the magnifier view. And what does that mean? Well, we're magnifying everything now, but let's come down and say that we want to do a docked view. So here we are in docked view. Now we have this docked up at the top, but if I take my mouse cursor and I come down and I come to the different levels, we're keeping the rest of the screen the same, but it's just adding the magnification to the docked view at the top here. I think this is really cool. So as I come down the screen, you'll see it's just magnifying each part of that, but it's sending it to the docked part, which is I've set it up at the top of my screen. I think this would be really helpful for people with sight problems. Now let's take the next we can take, and we're going to come down here and we're going to change this to the lens. Now what the lens does is this changes the magnification to a lens. So we can move, as we move the lens around, you can see how this changes the viewing. So we can magnify it with no matter where we put this lens. That's cool too. Anyway, the three that we have here are lens, docked, and full screen. You should know those three modes. Those are very important. All right, the next thing I want to show you is something that I use all the time. On the screen, you'll see that I have two tabs open in my Chrome browser. On the left side, you'll see that I have our Tech for Senior website open, and on the right side, you'll see I have Amazon Shopping. Two different tabs open. I'm going to click on the Tech for Senior, our website tab. Now, I'm going to show you how you can increase and decrease the size of one tab that doesn't affect the other one. Let me show you. We're going to do Control Plus and watch what happens to the Tech for Senior side. Watch it go up, and as we zoom in, that's using the Control plus the plus. All right. Now, if I want to go out, I can use the Control. I can use the Control and go Control minus. And let's just zoom in again. And if I want to take it back to the default, go Control 0. So it's Control plus, Control minus, or Control 0. And you can actually increase the size of that tab. You saw that the other tab, the Amazon tab, didn't change. And why is this important? Well, first of all, a lot of people might just have one tab open and they hit the Control plus and it gets too big and they can't figure out how to get out of there. So it's certainly a tech question that I get asked a lot. And my wife does this and I have to go and fix the computer for her. So it's just remember Control plus, Control minus, and Control 0. But on our Thursday show on Tech for Senior, I have a situation where we have all our images and where I have all our articles on our Facebook page. And what I want to do is I want to increase the size of that page so that when we display it for broadcasting, people can see the text on those articles a lot easier. But I don't want to magnify my other tabs because it gets too big. So I just want to do the one particular tab and magnify it. So you'll find this very handy the more you use it. All right, we've talked about glasses. We've talked about cleaning your screen. We've talked about lighting. We've talked about computer settings. But remember, there's always the opportunity for you, if you're having trouble with your vision, to simply plug a bigger monitor in. You can go 34-inch, bigger yet. You can even plug it into a television and put it on a 90-inch TV. So you can always plug bigger TVs or monitors into your computer. Also, don't forget that all devices can cast to a TV. And all modern TVs now, it's pretty easy to cast to them, so you can cast it. You don't even have to plug it in. So there are lots of options for peripheral devices that you can plug in and make your screen a lot bigger to see. Well, it's Ron Brown with Tech for Senior. Hopefully I've given you some insight into how to see your computer screen, even if you are having trouble with your vision. Be sure and click that like and subscribe, and we'll be sure to notify you when our next video comes out. Till we see you again, have a great day.